Bill Barber, welcome back to Australian Musician.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. It's good
Uh,
to see you again.
yeah, last time we spoke, or last time we did an interview was around the Blues Roulette EP about a year ago. You just wrapped up the old band, the Revelators, and started the Holding Cell.
Right. Yeah.
Bit of a sonic change of direction with the Holding Cell. You seem to have moved into a Southern rock, Allman Brothers, Marcus King kind of direction. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of, I've been thinking about how, we've all been thinking about how to describe the sound for a while. And I guess the closest thing to what we sound like is Southern rock, I guess. That's kind of, if, um, if people, I understand that people tend to need a label for, to be able to figure out what kind of mood they're in that day to be able to listen to it and things like that. Um, so yeah, I guess the closest thing to what we've been doing for the past couple of albums is Southern rock, but I think really, a lot of the time Southern rock is what happens when a blues guy tries to write country songs, and it kind of seems to be what's happened, especially with this new record. The first one was quite a bit bluesier than this new one, Southern Redemption, but yeah, I think it's been a couple of years since I caught up with you because it's been two records since. So
Yeah, must be.
um, yeah, so we had that. I was doing that record with Blues Roulette, which ended up being real fun. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it's funny to kind of have things come a little bit full circle and have a chat to you, because um, I was really like we were really just starting the holding cell the last time we spoke, and it's kind of it's moved forward pretty rapidly from there, which has been um, really surprising and kind of kind of difficult to stay on the rails with how fast it's been moving. But we've been really grateful for the response and things as well. So
Yeah. Actually, last time we spoke, you hadn't been to Memphis yet with the Holding Cell.
no, I think we might have just won Blues Challenge.
Yes.
Um,
So how did that trip go?
yeah, it was brilliant. It was I think what we were trying to do with that was this new this kind of shift in sound, that was always kind of the aim for this band, I think. But we needed something to work towards, and we needed to have a solid foundation, and all of us had a blues background. So um, yeah, and blues is still a really important part of our sound. It's at least 50 or 60% blues based. So um, yeah, we decided to do the blues challenge, and knowing we weren't probably the bluesiest thing around even then at that point. So we won, and it was quite a surprise. Yeah, we did. We got to the semifinals um, over there, and one of the coolest things though was we got to record at Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals for our first record, which is um, yeah, that was pretty trippy. It was I think because I'd been to Memphis solo when I was 19, and yeah, I got to record at Sun Studio and that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people from around the world, when they come over for the Blues Challenge, being able to record at Sun or being able to record at Stax or any of those amazing studios in Memphis is a really big thing. But I think for for the holding cell sound and for the direction we were already going in, it was a really special thing for us to record in Alabama because that's where the southern rock sound was invented, and in that studio as well, pretty much. So yeah, that was a pretty amazing thing. But I think even then, that first album that we recorded over there, that was still um, it was still it was a blues rock album, but it was a blues album, and so the kind of I guess the kind of shift that we've made with this one. We're taking a bit of a leap of faith with it because we know a lot of our fan base knows us for playing blues, and you know, we've definitely taken a bit more of a bit more of a um, bit more of an approach with the songwriting, and kind of really focusing on the songs first rather than um, you know the instrumental side of things, or that part of it is definitely still there with us. We're a pretty heavy guitar based band with Shaun and
Yeah.
I doing what we do, and um, Jasper and Tommy, being a really solid but kind of serving the song type rhythm section. Um, it really lends well to that kind of sound. So um, yeah, we're lucky to kind of be the type of players that just meld together, and it we don't really have we've never really had a discussion about which direction do we want to go, what kind of sound do we want to make. We just kind of we write and then we record what comes out. Um, so, and I think this record kind of that reflects that because it's very eclectic. I think you got yourself a copy at the launch the other week. Yeah, there's not really a pinning it down to one sort of genre or anything like that, and it tends to change up pretty drastically as it goes along. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Shaun Klinger is the lead guitarist in the band.
Shaun Klinger.
How did you guys hook up?
Right. So Tommy and Shaun have been really good friends for about 20 years. They've been in bands together for a long time. Um, so I guess what happened was, a few years, well, a couple of years ago, the Revelators finished up, and we were talking about that um, last time I was on this computer screen, and yeah, I was working in a trio with Tommy and Jasper, just doing really, really kind of traditional Chicago stuff, and yeah, it wasn't a great time, um, personally for me around then, and I wasn't doing very well, and it was Tommy that actually um, he well, he kind of made the decision for me. He gave me a call and he said I booked a rehearsal studio. And I'd played with Klinger a couple of times, just in blues jams and things like that. And I think Tommy and Shaun ran a blues jam at the Amazing Grace, and I went over there and had a play with him and stuff. So I knew Shaun's pedals and all of the. I didn't really know how deep the rabbit hole went. I'm really good friends with Shaun now, but I kind of knew that all right, this fella's something special, and but so Tommy had called Shaun, I called Jasper, and we went into a rehearsal studio with no intention to do anything but write, or at least try and do something creative. Because um, as good as being in a traditional Chicago band is, there's not a whole lot of room for creativity. There's a certain kind of sound that you need to fit to be able to play the venues that want that kind of stuff. And the first night we were in that room, we wrote like the first night the four of us were together, we wrote Hammer off of our first record. Um, we wrote Bad Dreams, which is on the new one, and we wrote Weary Heart. And coming back from that rehearsal was a that was a very yeah, it was kind of a goosebump type feeling. None of us had had that before.
Yeah.
Being able to flesh out two full songs and get half of another one in the space of 2 hours and have them, And Bad Dreams and Hammer, they're pretty much how you hear them that night. They're pretty much how you hear them on the record. And I think Bad Dreams is a very special one to be able to put down because we don't play that one very much live, and it kind of makes people a bit uncomfortable. Um, you know, and I guess because it's a pretty much direct, um, it's a pretty much direct kind of correlation as to how I was feeling at the time when I started the band. So, um, but yeah, ever since it just kind of grew from there. Creatively, um, we've never had anything close to a block. We've just kept writing, and when we do get a chance to get in a room, Tommy and Shaun have got kids, and we've all got kind of lives and jobs and all that kind of thing. So we're kind of stuck with the a few hours a week, and then we see each other on the road. We might go 2 or 3 weeks to a month without seeing each other, and then we all meet up at the airport and have a big hug and go on tour,
Yeah.
and then come home. So
Yes,
uh, yeah.
you were saying with the album, the versatility or the variety of styles of the songs, uh,
Mm.
but also with Shaun and his sonic knowledge, the variety of tones that you get at a Bill Barber and the Holding Cell show is quite amazing too.
It's quite a contrast, mine and Sean's styles, because I'm very simple on stage. I've got you know um when you see my setup versus Sean's, it's well, even visually, Sean's doesn't look like much because he's very protective of, he makes and sells pedals for a living. If anybody's never heard of Klinger pedals, if you're guitar players out there, if you want a serious fuzz pedal, Sean will make you one, and it's the only fuzz pedal you'll ever need.
Yeah.
Um, but he's it's not that he's secretive. He got a little bit sick of people coming up to him and not wanting to talk about the music or the songs, and just wanting to talk about his gear.
Yeah.
So he took all of the casings out of his pedals and just put them all in straight black casings. So his whole pedal board is completely blacked out. Um, and you never really get a straight answer as to what anything is on his pedal board. Even me, I'll hear a sound that I'd never heard before. I'm like, Shaun, how'd you do that? And he goes, oh, just don't worry about it. Um, but yeah, it's a very kind of, I think that's the reason. Like, Shaun and I give each other space to do what we need to do, and um, it's a it's been an interesting shift for me, becoming, well, I guess not becoming, but like most of my job on the guitar in the holding cell is rhythm, because I've when you've got to play it like Shaun, you don't. I take solos because I want to, when I want to. No, it's not because I need to. It's if I ever take a guitar solo, it's because I feel like taking one. And I know for a fact that Shaun could have done my job there. You know,
Yeah.
but
Um,
yeah.
One of the things I loved about seeing the band live was the dual guitar lines between both of you. How much work do you put into that?
Surprisingly, I think like practicing them and shedding them that's the work. Um, Working out the harmonies. Again, that's yeah. Sean's got a Sean's got a very special brain. There's I've heard stories of like Thin Lizzy and Allman Brothers and things. They're sitting there for days trying to figure out harmonies to things like Jessica, and um, and there's that story about the boys are back in town. Them trying to get that recorded and having to take you know 6 or 7 takes, even though they practiced the hell out of it. Um, it's a very it's a very special thing having Shaun and Jasper's theory knowledge, because I'm not illiterate with theory, but I am, you know I'm very, very rudimentary. I can almost read a real book chart. That's kind of it. But with Shaun and Jasper, that's they'll spend 10 hours in a car just talking theory. So um, they've both got the brain to be able to figure out those harmonies super quick. So one of us will come up with a line, and we'll try it. Usually 3 or 4 ways. We'll figure out a line, and then we'll um, a lot of the a lot of our favorite stuff, because we tend not to use the overly major harmonies, that kind of 80s rock sound, unless it's really called for. So a lot of what we're doing is thirds instead of fifths. But the problem with doing that is um, a lot of the time we tend to step on each other, so we have to figure out um, how to play that differently after we've figured out the harmony to the original line and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't take us too much time to figure out what we're actually doing. It takes us a long time to match up with each other and the timing of it and things like that. So, um, yeah, and it's an interesting thing having to go home and practice your part on your own, because the thing with a harmony part, especially a harmonized guitar part, is neither of them sound good on their own. They sound like nonsense when they're on their own. They
Yeah.
only sound like something that's great, like they only sound like music when both of them are together.
Mm.
So it's yeah, I I remember I'd be sitting there for, especially the ones in vitriol and champagne. Those were the biggest challenge ones for me. The the opening lick, which I wrote that opening lick, and I really wish that I hadn't, because Sean immediately took that and complicated the hell out of it. And then he goes, "Oh, just do this," and he played it perfectly the first time. And I went, "All right, man, like, slow down. You know that's going to take me a month. I need to go home and sit with that." Um, but yeah, I remember sitting there practicing that one over and over before the recording, and um, that thing where if you say a word enough times, it starts to sound like gibberish. That's kind of what happens when you're trying to practice a harmony part. I'll be practicing it like the 20th time. I'm like, why am I doing this? This doesn't sound like it makes sense at all. I need to talk to somebody about this. This shouldn't be on the record. And
Yeah.
then I get in there, and Sean starts playing his bit. Oh, okay, yeah, no, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
But there was in that song, because we recorded Southern Redemption all to tape as well. And there's a part in, I think we had probably 3 or 4 tracks left after we did our initial live one, for overdubs. And in the solo, of that, Sean accidentally harmonized with himself in 2 different takes.
Right.
So there's a harmony part at the end of Sean's solo that you can hear that, and that's not me, and that's not playing. That was Sean accidentally doing 2 different takes of a solo, and the end of that solo being the harmony to the first. So we matched those up together, and that was an accidental harmony.
Yeah. So I imagine you'd never open a show with vitriol and champagne then?
No, no, no. That has to be when we're going a bit.
You're mainly playing the 335 now.
Yep.
Does it have a story behind how you acquired it? Did you just buy it from a shop? Did it come from someone else?
But it's not. There's not that much of a story about how I acquired it. How I lost it and reacquired it is kind of the, I guess, more of the story. So I've had that, I guess, all up a year and a half. I've had it 2 and a bit years, but I lost it for probably 6 months. Um, and so basically, what happened with that guitar was, yeah, I didn't have I wasn't doing that many gigs at the time, and we just started holding cell, and everybody was telling me that I needed a 335. It was I was playing a Les Paul, and it was nice, but it was yeah, it definitely wasn't my thing. I was trying to get 335 sound out of this Les Paul. I was on the neck pickup all the time, and I was rolling the tone off, and I was just trying to warm up this Les Paul, and I was doing the same thing when people were passing me Strats and all that kind of thing, and I did probably a little while, before I got that one. I went shopping with my mate Jared Healy, and there was this guitar on the wall at Swap Shop, and it was a custom shop, early '60s, fancy something with the flame maple and all that kind of thing. And he handed it to me and went, "Here, play this." And, yep, cool. And I stayed there for like an hour and a half playing this guitar. And then I looked at the price tag, and I shouldn't have looked at the price tag. And I can't justify it. I can't afford it. Anyway, I give it to him. He plays it for 5 minutes, and then he looks at the price tag and says, "I'm sorry, dude. I do have the money, and I'm gonna buy it." And he's still got that guitar, but ever since I was completely convinced that I needed a 335, and I was trying to put money away, and then life happens and bills happen and all that kind of stuff. But we started the holding cell, and Jasper, it's incredibly kind of him. He sat with me and he said, "Well, you need this 335. It's not a thing anymore. You need a 335 for this band to work." And, at that point, we were all really, really committed to making that work. We still 100% are, but it was new and it was exciting, and it was all very, very. We were taking it very serious because we never had anything like that before. And he goes, "All right, well, let's just go and play some guitars and see if you can lay by one." So I went down. I, I found that one at the Acoustic Center of all places. Um, Damn, I'll go and get it. It's just over here. I got this from the Acoustic Center of all places. And I got this one because it felt and sounded the most like that one that my best friend stole off me. And Jared, I am going to say stole, okay? But that felt the most like that one. So this has been my main guitar pretty much ever since, until it got stolen out of my car in December. And this is a lesson to pretty much every other musician. If you think your guitar is going to be okay in the car, it's not. Bring it inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Bring it inside. Anyway, this one, got pinched, and I thought when guitars go, they usually go.
Yeah.
We're never going to see them again. So, but probably 6 months later, I got a phone call, which led me to getting this guitar back. And I initially put up, I put up posters, and it was shared like 10,000 times. I was really, really grateful. Mate, can you hear that in the background? My bird is going a bit nuts.
That's okay. It's cool.
Um, yeah. Mate, you good? Cool. Yes. So it got shared probably 10 or 15,000 times. And I was really, really grateful for that. But I still wasn't holding out a whole lot of hope until, I got a message which led me back to this. But in all my posts, I said, no questions asked. And I won't mention anything if I do get it back. So, and unfortunately, you don't get the story because I have to stick to my word. But I am very grateful for getting it back. One thing I'm almost even more grateful for though is when this guitar got pinched. This was the only guitar I owned at the time. I have this and a Cole Clark, and that's it. Um, I had a show at Cherry Bar that night with the holding cell, and I rang Shaun, and he's got a pretty big collection of things. And I rang him up and I said, "Hey mate, I know that I can't be trusted with guitars right now, but is there something you might be able to lend me for the show? I'll put it straight back in your hands afterwards." And he said, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll bring something along." And he's the crown jewel of his collection, and he doesn't believe it is because he uses his Strat all the time, and that's his guitar. That's the guitar Shaun will forever be known for and with. Is that Eric Johnson's Strat? Um, but he brought this Telecaster along, and the rest of the band have been lusting after this Telecaster ever since we've seen it. Um, and he handed it to me, and he said, "Does it sound good?" And I said, "Yep, it sounds like the best Tele I've ever heard. You know, like the other times that I played it." And he goes, "Does it feel okay?" And I said, "Yep, it feels like the best Tele I've ever played. You know, like every other time I've told you." And he said, "Good, you can have it. It's yours." Um, so that is my um, probably even though I love this guitar, um, that Telecaster means more to me because that was um, it was such a massive gesture at a time where I really didn't, you know, I was really low on myself as well for that, and I felt like such an idiot, and um, him being that generous, and I it's funny that night he gave Jasper a very nice '70s some sort of crazy phaser pedal as well, and me and Jasper walked out and we were really worried about him. Like, is he sick? We need to. Um, but no, it was incredibly generous of him, and that's the kind of person he is. He said, I asked him what motivated him to do that, and he said that um, he caught himself being really negative about the world lately, and he wanted to put some positivity out in the world. And I'll always be incredibly grateful for that guitar. Um, Not just because of how great it is. Yeah, it's a massive gesture by a friend, and I really appreciate it. So,
Well, it sounds
um,
like not only is the band musically strong and creative, but there's something a lot deeper with you guys going on
yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to be cliche about it, but it's a proper brotherhood. Um, we love each other like brothers, and we fight like brothers, and um, and yeah, it's very much a family type thing. Um, I think that's part of what makes the music is it's whatever people may think about the music or the musicianship or whatever the recording choices or the engineering choices or the sound choices or the guitar tones, the drum sounds, the bass, whatever. I'm really proud of the fact that the music sounds real and it's um, and you can feel that we mean it. You
Yeah.
know, and I don't think I'd be able to make music as honest without Tommy, Shaun, and Jasper. I think um, I've had other bands that were great and they really mean a lot to me, but this is being the lyricist of the band. Like I write the lyrics mainly. That's my main job. All the other guys are such good musicians that that's kind of the only other thing that's left to do is to write the lyrics. And I don't think I'd be able to write um, as vulnerably and honestly as I do without those guys being there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't think that because they understand, because we talk to each other about everything, so they understand where every line comes from, and if a line has a different meaning to what it comes out as, or all that kind of thing. Which is I don't know, it's not unfortunate, but yeah, my songs are definitely not open to interpretation to those three guys. They're open to interpretation to everybody else, but because those boys know every aspect of my life, um, yeah, they can pick out what things are about pretty quick. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So what's next? The album's out. Do you have some more gigs coming up before the end of the year?
Yeah, we're doing one in we're doing one out Geelong way in December. And we're playing Bendigo Blues and Roots and the first week of November. No, first or second week. November 9th. We're playing that one. Um, yeah, and then probably early next year hitting the road pretty hard. We're gonna be announcing a bit of a tour and that kind of thing, and probably head back probably head back in the room and start writing again. Um, that's kind of I don't know if I don't know if other musicians have this feeling, but because this album's out, we've been writing, working on and playing these songs for 18 months now. So in my brain, I'm ready for something new, even though to to people that are listening to us, this is the new stuff, you know. Because I've been working on it for so long, I'm ready to be writing new stuff because um, yeah, I already want to move forward and I already want to kind of make another shift in sound and things like that. And I think the boys are in the same boat. So
Yeah.
yeah, there'll probably be new music coming sooner rather than later as well.
Yeah. So the best place to find the album, buy the album?
Yep. So the album's available from us at gigs on CD at the moment. We'll be doing a very small, we'll be doing a very limited run of vinyl. Um, if you like a CD at the moment, get in touch with our on our Instagram or Facebook page. Send us a DM and we'll sort you out a physical copy. It is on streaming services, but we'd prefer you to listen to it on CD at the moment. And once we get the vinyl, we prefer you to listen to it on vinyl. We did do everything completely analog, so for you audio files out there, it's definitely not going to sound like the same record on Spotify. For anybody who can't, you know, who can't doesn't have a CD player or listens to all their music on the internet, we still really appreciate you listening to us on streaming services. Um, so the record's on Spotify as well. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can get yourself a CD or a record because it's also mixed and mastered differently, so it'll sound better on a CD or a record.
Yeah. All right, Bill, it's been great to catch up again. You should be very proud of the album and just the way you guys play live. You blew me away at the launch at Winter Blues. So just keep doing it.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate you having me back.